Hello everyone, good evening. My name is Daniel Evans. You can call me Dan. I'm the Artistic Director of Queensland Theatre Company. And it's my pleasure to welcome you here this evening to the play briefing for Dear Son, based on the book by Thomas Mayo and adapted by Isaac Drandich and John Harvey. Before we begin tonight, I'd just like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we gather, the Turrbal and Yagara people. On behalf of all the creatives you're about to meet on this stage this evening, we acknowledge that this space, this place, has always been a site of storytelling. Well, welcome back. It seems like only a moment ago we were in Miss Monica's workers' cottage in Paddington. That has been demolished, as you can see. In fact, only, I think, about 12 hours ago, that set was still there, and now we're on this beautiful new set that you can see is coming together, but we'll talk more about that soon. These briefings are all about uncovering parts of the artistic process, be it writing, directing, rehearsal, design, that would otherwise remain completely invisible to you when you sit in your seat to enjoy the show. So please start thinking about any questions you might have, any observations you want to make, because I will throw to you in about 20 minutes' time. Okay. In 2021, author Thomas Mayo published this book here, and I brought a copy. Hold on, I've got a prop. There it is. Gosh, it was really awkward as I'm about to lose all my things. It's a compendium of letters, 12 letters, written from a father to a son or a son to a father as part of a celebration of not only First Nations masculinity, but also connection and love. This anthology features letters from Stan Grant, Troy Cassadaly, John Little, Charlie King, Joe Williams, Yessie Mosby, Joel Bayless, Daniel James, and more. In their totality, this collection of stories is deeply personal, ferociously funny, and full to the brim of hope and healing. Through story and song, Isaac, John, and his incredible team are unveiling a work of national significance about the power of culture, the enduring strength of the human spirit, and just how full of wisdom and bad dad jokes our fathers are. Would you please welcome to the stage the cast and creative team behind Dear Son. And there's a lot of them. Here they come. Keep that applause going. Come on down. Come on down. Look at this. Keep that applause going. There's more coming. There's more coming. Amazing. What a crew. I might get these fine folk to introduce themselves to you, and then we'll get started with some questions. Let's go along the line. Let's start this way. Hello, stranger.
Hello, my name is Tibian Wiles. I'm the assistant director.
Hi, I'm Aaron Pedersen. I'm playing one of the characters in the show.
I'm Trevor Jamison, also playing a character in the show.
Kevin O'Brien, set design.
David Walters, lighting design.
Ibn Love, assistant lighting designer.
Craig Wilkinson, video designer.
Jimmy Barney, actor in the show. Yeah, thank you.
Kirk Page, one of the actors in the show.
Juanica Blanco, movement director and one of the actors in the show.
Delvine Cockatoo Collins, costume designer.
Will Hughes, composer and sound designer.
Isaac Drandich, director and co-adapter of the book.
And thank you. Yes, big round of applause. Isaac is also our head of First Nations Theatre here at Queensland. Oh my gosh, you're so far away. Hi. my first question is for you, down the end. Isaac, yes. 37, dear brother, and now, dear son. Is this the end of the trilogy, do we think? I'm interested to know all of those previous works that you've kind of been creating or making deal in some way with fatherhood or kind of masculinity, or maybe brotherhood. I'm wondering, was that a deliberate artistic kind of investigation or something you fell into? And where does this one fit Is it the end of a trilogy? I don't know. Is it a trilogy?
It sort of turned out to be that way. But I didn't really plan it, Dan. It sort of did fall into my lap. And I think, I think the artists that I work with and that are around us, I think they're the ones that come to me. And I think they come to us as directors and artistic directors of companies. And there's a lot of energy around it, around these themes and ideas around masculinity. And I think it might be in response, and I'm just making this up as I go along. I do that a lot. But I think it could be in response to the world that we live in, and that there's so much going on in the world. There's wars all over the place. Toxic masculinity is sort of at its all-time high. And I think the men that are approaching me to work with them on these types of stories, I think subconsciously they're going, hey, I don't want the world to look like this anymore. I want to be able to, through the art form of making theatre, I want to be able to address that. I want to be able to go, hey, this isn't my idea of masculinity. This isn't my idea of what it is to be a man in Australia. What about this? What about we challenge those ideas? What about we show a different side of men? What about we show the beautiful side of masculinity? And I think as somebody who's in a privileged position of programming works and being a director, that I have to respond and I have to listen to the artists that are around us in terms of the stories that they want to tell, because they have their finger on the pulse. And look, and I suppose it's a bit of a journey for me as well, as a sort of middle-aged man. I'm in my mid-40s now, and I'm always I'm always thinking about how it is I can be a better man and a better person every single day. And I think I'm exploring that. I think I'm exploring that on a personal level as well, not just an artistic level, but a personal level. And that's what sort of drawn me towards all of these stories. 37, dear brother, and now dear son. And I'm not sure that it's the end yet, Dan, but it certainly I feel like I've responded in an appropriate way so far.
Great answer. Thank you. Isaac, I'm going to ask another question, and then I promise I'll ask other people some questions. But can you talk to us about what was the development process like on this one? Did it differ in any way, or how did you go about building this work or adapting it with John?
It was an incredible first workshop that we did up in Cairns, which is where I'm based. So I invited 5 actors up to Cairns with myself and John Harvey, the co-adapter of this work. And involved in that workshop was Jimmy Barney, Kirk Page, who else? Aaron Pedersen down there, and Trevor Jamison. Aaron Farso as well, but now we've got Wanika Blanco in the cast. And we actually didn't really pick up the script. So John and I had put together a rough as guts first version of this, and we got together and we just started talking about our own relationships with our own dads and our own sons. And that's where the conversation really took off for us. We learnt things about each other that we've known each other for, most of us have known each other for sort of 20 years, around that mark, 20 years in the industry, 20 years we've known each other, and stories we shared on that, across those 2 or 3 days, we'd never heard those stories from each other. So what this book did for us is it was an invitation for us to actually start talking about some of the things that matter to us. And this workshop was, well, it was full of tears, and it was full of laughter, and it had everything that an amazing theatre show would have. And John and I then, we went away from that workshop and we based the set. We based the set and we based the work around that workshop, what came out of that workshop. And it actually turned into like a men's group. And so that's how we've framed this work. We've framed this work that it's a men's group, and these 5 men come together to talk about their histories, to talk about their failures, to talk about their successes.
Wonderful. You just took my next question. Fabulous. I love it when that happens. Aaron, can I come to you? Hello, welcome back, legend. You were last here with eating ice cream with your eyes closed. Oh no, seems like only yesterday. Welcome back. How are you feeling?
I'm glad I got a job back with the Queensland Theatre Company.
Yes, we're glad to have you back. My question for you is, you are, and since then, you have just carved an amazing career in film and television, and you've just, you're a bloody icon, you're a bloody celebrity. But I guess my question is, why come back? No, in a nice way, but why are you here? But also, what is it about theatre, perhaps, or this form? What do you love about it that keeps you coming back? Is it much different to film and TV, or what's special about it to you? This
it pays a lot less, but anyway.
Well, we can work on that.
No.
We can have a bucket outside for afterwards.
That's all right. No, I think I suppose film and TV it's kind of a longer process. You kind of get to enjoy the work when you're doing it, but you don't see the product for a good year or so later. What I love about theatre is the immediacy of it, and the contact you have with the audience, but also your fellow actors on stage, and the story that you build over a longer period of time. But there's a lot of, and it involves everyone, all the creatives. So, it's such a massive collective. It involves, and so from that formation comes a family, and I really love that. I think, and as I get older, I think I'm loving it even more each time. I think with TV and film, it's few and far between, and sometimes it's quite frustrating with a lot of actors in the industry because there's not as much work available to them. So a lot of people kind of, they either stay in the business or they leave. So I think theatre gives you an opportunity to work on stories over a longer period of time. You find a lot more nuances, and you find a lot more detail when you're working over a longer period. And you, like I said, you do build a structure that I believe comes through the work. So I like theatre because I think there's so many more interesting roles in theatre. There's so many more interesting storytellers and directors that you can work with, and creatives that you can hook up with. So I think you just get this overall experience. I think you get a good life experience when you're doing theatre. I really love it. I love film and TV and that, but it kind of moves on too quickly, whereas this stays with you a lot longer. It's a bit like a campfire, look at that.
Wow, spoiler alert. Wonder what that'll be.
Yeah. So I love it because of that. But I love the audience interaction. I love the whole process, actually. I just love being employed.
Don't we all? Well, it's great to have you back. And I'm going to extend that to Jimmy. There you are. Hello. How are you?
Hi.
You were last with us, I think, as Othello, or maybe Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. So welcome back. It's so great to have you back on this stage. We're so pumped to have you. I'm wondering, Jimmy, I've heard a lot of laughter out of that rehearsal room. I've heard there's push-ups happening, and I've heard some loud music. I was lucky enough to see a run, and it's a beautiful, beautiful work. I'm wondering, what's the process been like on this one for you, Jimmy? And does this one feel more special in a way because of the content that Isaac was talking about, or how are you going?
Yeah, no, like Isaac said, when we had the workshop up in Cairns, there was the stories that came out of the letters. As a performer, the way I approach things is I'm a vessel. I'm a storyteller. I'm a vessel, and that was a great opportunity. It was a responsibility that I felt then. That as soon as when we sort of wrapped up I said to Isaac straight away, I had no idea what was on my schedule, but I'm in. You know, it's so close to home. Obviously, being I'm a father of 5. My eldest son Dimitri, we had him when we were 20 years old. My experience in growing up, and I'm sure a lot of us, our parents with our eldest experience was that was my initiation to manhood. Along with my cultural, practices and walkabout, that was the main one that made me said, okay, brother, you're not a boy anymore. You got to be a dad. You've got someone under your care. So I grew up with Dimitri, and reading all the stories of these 12 men. It is the side that I'm really passionate about that a lot of people don't see. We have, I guess, I don't want to use the word stereotype, but you have a perspective that when you see, an island fella or Aboriginal, fella, you say, okay. But what's actually going inside of these men that attracted to me, that's me, that's us, that I felt that I have a responsibility to be a part of this project. And yeah, it's been a journey from that day one when we had, it's a men's group, and coming into the rehearsal and meeting this amazing team that we have, and everybody just have the belief and in the vision and into pushing this. It was a no-brainer. I feel this is more a responsibility more than anything, Dan, for myself.
That's wonderful. I was going to ask Trevor, maybe in Kirk. I'm not sure if do you feel the same way, or how's the process been? Has it felt different to other shows you've done before, or?
Yeah, definitely quite personal. It's look, I've been in the industry for over 30 years. It's also making sacrifices, with those people that I have children to. It was something that I needed to try and search myself, and I thought that coming and being asked to be part of this, it would help me get answers to what they were, being an Aboriginal man, being within this industry for that long, and now having children of my own that are also reflecting, being performers themselves. I really wanted to come in and find out what that answer is and see where I was going wrong or what I was doing right. It's allowed me to reconnect also with some amazing people that I've known in the industry for quite some time, just to get together. And I've never, ever got personal, on a male platform. I kept things for myself. Some of the things I've hurt myself with, some of the things I've hurt other people with, and this was in some way to help, understand or say where I am, and as a gift that that we've now got, we are sharing that to the rest, to Australia. So this gives me an amazing opportunity, not only just to see where I am to this day, but also where I come from the past. Like my grandparents' first contact with white people was in the 1950s. So, the Maralinga bombs, a lot of my grandmothers, they were taken towards Western Australia, near Kalgoorlie, a small mission called Kundalini. And they were, a very huge influence within my life. A lot of that, culturally, dance, storytelling, obviously. That's the reason why I'm in this industry, is because of them. But looking back to where they come from, the first contact. Then there was my mother and father who were born in that assimilation period, right up until me and my brothers. We always have this question about what is that that our fathers and our grandfathers, on a cultural level, they've taught us a lot. There's a lot of beauty out there within our culture. But what that is about Australia, we're walking through this life. We've never had that. I realise we never had that upbringing of, what it is that we are supposed to do within, the Australian world or, the white world. What is that we were supposed to do? There are certain expectations growing up, especially through assimilation. We're still, we're still in a hangover period because it just comes straight out of that. I'm still trying to find out what that is as an Aboriginal man. It's hurtful when I walk down the street and I walk past, non-Indigenous lady. She's got a handbag and she always grips it really tight. People that look at me differently, it's just, it's that thing about how do I deal with it, because, really, we never were taught about how to deal with these things. There was only just the expectation of the missionaries to say, as soon as you're, educated and everything, you've got to get a job. Once you got the job, you're on your own. What then afterwards? We weren't actually, shown how to deal with our own, emotional developments. There wasn't another man there to say, hey, these are two worlds you've got together. You're going to have to be a man on your cultural Aboriginal side and see what comes out of it, see how that you can improve and show others that you're doing well, because we want to see you do well. We know that's really quite hard. And I'm here doing it with all these other men, all the other different cultures that are up here, sitting with me, and it's a chance for me to see and find out, where's that strength, or what is that thread? What is that common thread? And still learning to this day. These guys are amazing to work with, being in the room, and there is the sense, especially from the company, the security net, because sometimes, we don't know where we are, but it's great to have, certain points of guidance from a lot of people here, which is great.
Amazing. Beautiful. Maybe I hope everyone out there is getting the impression that this is actually quite it's a beautiful and a very nuanced work. And I'm wondering, it's a question for everyone on the stage, but from working on this show, have you learnt or have you had any insight about, you've mentioned to Jimmy that you're a dad, but have you had any insight about being a father or being a son? Has there been any kind of like big learnings or moments in the process where you've gone, whoa, I can see that now, or have you got any appreciation or respect, or I don't know, has anything come up, or any gleanings come up throughout the process about fatherhood for anyone through working on the text? Oh, I've gone. This is a yarn event question.
What is your question?
This is hard. What have you learned anything from perhaps about fatherhood, or anything about your own dad or sons?
I think there's something really radical. When we were away and we all sort of sat and went, we're going to talk about what it's like for men to talk about their feelings and what it's like to, whether it's a planned fatherhood or a surprise fatherhood, that it's a lot. That's a life-changing thing. And, one thing to talk about it in the open, or for men to write letters and then be willing to share them with the world, is one thing that's really kind of, vulnerable and incredible. And then ourselves being, men who may have children through various different ways, or they are carers, or they're in a kinship care, caring parent-brother relationship. I think just hit with the weight of having to take care of someone, and also it brings up a lot of how you may have been taken care of or may not have been taken care of as a son. I think that's probably the bigger thing, which is a little bit darker, but yeah, I have 2 children because I donated sperm to two of my lesbian friends, 4 of them. So there's 2 kids, 4 mothers and 1 father. And they are 13 and 12, and it's incredible. Like, I'm not a parent. I don't do the daily care, but I'm a father. And, you know, the thing about being a parent is like, whoa, that's intense. You know,
I do 5 days over Christmas and I'm ready for a holiday.
So playing other people's fathers is really beautiful. It's great.
Great. Wanaka, I feel like, are you down there, Wanaka? Hello.
Hey, Dan.
How are you? What about you? How are you going in this process? You're on stage this time. We know you through your amazing movement work off the stage, but now you're on stage. How's that been, that process?
It's been an absolute honour and privilege. I guess since we did that photo shoot last year,
we did
with my son on the hero image of Dear Son. I've been asking. I said to Isaac, hey, if there's any space for another dad here, I'm keen. And he sort of looked at me and was like, really? He's like, yeah, I can do more than dance and create dance. You know, it's been, you know, it's acting is another limb off the tree of storytelling and expression. And, you know, this place, the theatre is my home, you know. Usually I'm dancing in these theatres, but I still, you know, this is still my church. This is where I feel most at home. And, yeah, I feel like it's just another extension and progression in my expression. Yeah.
It's amazing. You're doing double duty on this one because you're also movement directing, doing some choreography. Do you want to tell us about the physical language of the work?
Yeah, absolutely. Compared to, you know, working on 37 and Dear Brother with Isaac last year, with younger men, we're moving into a more of an initiated men's space here. So the dance, the language that's coming is much more gentler on the bodies, I hope.
We're working with some older knees here as well. So we've just had to be a little bit gentler with the choreography this time around.
Yeah, wise bodies I'm working with. Yeah.
I don't know. I saw the run through, and it's pretty active. It's pretty physical.
You couldn't tell the difference, could you?
Yeah, couldn't at all. Not at all.
Between a $30 knee and a $700 knee.
Look, these men on stage who are cast as fathers and sons, they have the blood of many nations all across this country, and it's so special to be able to bring everyone's individual style and celebrate everyone's individual style. I'm not here trying to make everyone cookie-cutter uniformed in movement, but I'm bringing a thread of connection from the words of the story into movement, you know, and that's what movement has always been. It's a prayer for telling something that can't be spoken. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thanks, Monica. Tibian, I know I'm coming to you. Can you believe it? You are actually stepping into a directorial role in this one. You're the assistant director. What's your observation of watching these fellas in the room? How's it different? Yeah.
It's very, for myself, it's very confronting, only because every single one of these men that are on stage I've watched since I've started. So my first ever role was with this bloke on Mystery Roads. I was an extra on it though. But the thing about it was that the thing that Aaron did was, him and Hugo Weavy did, was take us behind set, which really kind of got me thinking of loving the thing of acting. So a lot of these fellas that I've worked with over the years through a lot of different projects, and I've watched them from afar and really tried to study them, and to be in a role where I have some power to tell them what to do, it kind of is confronting in a way, but it's really...
How does that go down?
I'm like, I dress like Isaac every day, and then I just go, yeah, do this. No, I'm joking. But no, yeah, it's really, I'm learning a lot from them. Also learning a lot from Isaac, and just observing even them on stage, and then observing how Isaac really directs and really kind of put a picture or put a scene out there and kind of thing. So I'm learning a lot of that way. But also going back to the question you asked, I was going to answer it, but I'm like myself, I'm not a father, but I feel like I'm learning a lot watching these fathers go through all these stories and hearing these stories, and I'm learning a lot about. I feel like I'm learning a lot about fatherhood myself. So it's and really connecting a lot of these men's these even the letters, but also these fellas off stage to my own father, and it's really lovely to see that and really connect, because I haven't seen my father for a few months now. Back in Townsville, so I'm really this thing is bringing up a lot of emotions, but it's really going back to the directional part of it. I've worked with Isaac for a long time, and I love the way he tells story, and I guess I want to be able to be the next generation of storytellers in the next kind of couple of generations, and I believe that this was a perfect opportunity that I've been trying to I've been like really whispering to Isaac for many years that I worked with him, like, if you ever need someone to kind of, I want to understudy, even if I'm just coming in and just watching. You don't have to pay me, but I just want to watch and kind of learn. So this time's come around. So when he asked me, I was like, yes. And it kind of, I've taken there's a lot of responsibility here too. I think that Isaac's kind of putting towards me for the future.
That's amazing. There's another level of exchange happening, and it's in the centre here with David and Eben. I know that you both are working together on realising the lighting for this world. How's this relationship going? Eben, how are you going? Are you learning a lot, or what's happening?
Oh, yeah, I'm learning so much. I mean, I've grown up in theatre. My dad was a playwright, so I've always been around it. I was on tour when I was 6 months old. But, I was always kind of behind the scenes, or probably usually behind the desk, making sure the microphone's at the right level. So actually coming into the design side of the field has been amazing. And, working with David, just seeing his insights, and, it's just blown me away.
Has there been one pearl of wisdom or one lesson you've learnt so far where you've gone, oh my gosh, that's amazing. That's changed my life, my mind.
I've done quite a bit of like lighting design for a venue, like just having dance schools come in and stuff. And I'm always worried about the practicality of it, or the actual logistics behind lighting, where I think David here has taught me about the overall feel of lighting design, and not worrying about, we need to put a light over here till it all just falls into place. So I think that's been the biggest insight so far.
And how are you going, David? You're the master. You're the Jedi.
Oh, look.
You are the Jedi of Brisbane lighting, I say.
I guess
Alec Guinness. You look a bit like him too.
This process is for me, it's an interesting one, because it's sure I'm a mentor and teaching in some ways, but it's also a learning process. I'm working with the original storytellers of this land, and it's learning and listening new ways of understanding how to tell stories, and it's listening to young ears and young eyes, Eben's eyes, how he sees things and visualizes things. So it's a process of teaching and learning, this one. So it's a privilege to be here.
It's a beautiful answer, David. Thank you. Kev. Hello. How are you? Isaac kind of maybe didn't really spill the beans, but he kind of talked about this being a men's sharing circle. I'm interested to know, how have you conceived this world that we've seen the beginnings of now, and maybe you could talk us through what's missing or what's to come. And also, can I just acknowledge this amazing tree? I'm always impressed by trees on stage, and this one is a cracker. But Kev, talk us about this beautiful design. How did you conceive it? How did this come about?
I think when Isaac introduced me to the project late last year, I can't remember where we were, but we ended up on a beach somewhere,
And as you were telling me about the story, the immediate image that came into my mind were these kinds of ubiquitous structures that are up and down the coast. My mother's side of the family are from the Torres Strait, and these things are sort of everywhere on the islands, and they're not unsurprisingly to do with shade, and people collect in the shade in a sunny place like Queensland. And I remember as a kid going back and forth to the islands that men would gravitate towards these sorts of structures, particularly at sunset, which has become the kind of condition for the show or for the work. So that set up a lot of prompts in terms of what light might do. With the master here next to me, David, giving some really clear sense of how he wants to light it to bring that quality and character out. But I think ultimately it was just this idea that the shed, as a sort of a men's shed thing, was it just felt really natural. So we didn't really deviate too far from it. It just sort of came straight away. I would tell everyone though, you should come up and have a look at the tree at the end of this thing, because it's extraordinary. And one of the things about the tree is that there's 5 men on stage, but it's like the 6th. Trees are sort of the old bearing witness type character, and if you look closely, there's a face in there, but you'll have to look. We're not going to tell you where it is, are we?
Surprise.
Yeah, but the other thing too is about the bark. So, it's trying to be representative of all the countries all the men are from and the stories are from. So it's not necessarily a specific tree species, but the qualities of the tree itself. In some places I've been, rough bark signifies male, and the smoother bark signifies female in terms of tree. So that's a reason there's a rough bark, but it's not a specific species if you look closely at it.
And it's fake, isn't it? Like it was made. It's not a real tree.
I've documented the whole thing because I was blown away by the team building it, and then the art that went across it to age it.
Yeah.
And the next thing will be the lighting and seeing how it sort of starts to
That's
kind
right.
of have a heartbeat.
Eben and David step up to the plate.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's going to be great.
I'm going to come along the line to the other master in the yellow shirt. Hello, Craig Wilkinson, who was last with us on Round the Twist. This is a bit of a smaller palette than Round the Twist. And on behalf of the company, congratulations again, because one of Craig's previous works, Dracula, that was done with the Sydney Theatre Company, probably since we've seen you last, is transferring to the West End. So we are amongst a West End video designer. So next stop, Broadway. But before then, the Bill Brown. And this one, talk to us. We know your work through so much video design you've done for us over the years and the past decade. Where does this one sit? What's the role of video here?
The role of video on this one is very much of support and restraint in many ways. It kind of needs to exist. And it's interesting in a work like this because it is a new work, even though the book exists, in terms of actually shaping the theatre version of this work. It's constantly shifting and shaping, and especially over kind of the past week, Isaac's really kind of digging in, and the men around me are really digging into the tone of the work. So, where does the kind of tone of the work sit in terms of each story, each kind of letter that's being written? So video is kind of an evolving beast in many ways. So moving into a traditional structure, generally we've kind of storyboarded the entire show with great detail. At this point in time, I've probably animated all the content, so we're in a kind of, or pre-programmed a lot of the stuff. Whereas this one, it's actually about preparing an arsenal of things, of elements to kind of help blend video, what might be light and what might be video, and kind of, form video in a way that very much supports these men and these stories. It helps give, through titles, a form of structure, but hopefully in terms of the world building, there's a world where David, Eben and I can kind of play between, what at the back of the space is will be a rear projection space, so that kind of world will exist in the kind of realist space in terms of sunset extending Kevin's beautiful kind of set that there's very much rooted in a level of realism. But it also helps us give a structure in more of a theatrical sense as well. So, the next kind of week is a really exciting time where we kind of, explore ideas, explore some ideas we've talked about, see what works, what doesn't. I think it's a really interesting one As it kind of evolves, as makers, we're really able to kind of adapt and make sure that we're being truthful to each individual story in the world that we're building, but we're also being able to give contrast as well throughout.
Amazing, thank you, Craig. William, there you are. Sound, music. I heard a snatch of it last week when I saw a rehearsal. How are you finding that language at the moment? Is it shifting and changing, or?
Yeah, I mean, exactly as Craig was saying, it has been a really organic process in terms of we're building it on the floor. Like we're really creating this thing on the floor, and having been able to work with Isaac previously on 37 and Dear Brother, I was prepared for that eventuality, which is a really exciting and fun way to work. And yeah, it's keeping me on my toes, but it's a great joy, and a great joy to be able to play a supporting role in anything as vital and important as this.
And can I just thank and acknowledge the great work of the design team in terms of being as open and as responsive to where the energy is with this work. Thank you. I should stand when I say this. No, because it is an ever-evolving work. A new work has its own sort of life. And sometimes I think as directors and as writers and as actors that we think we know what it is, and then it shows us something else. It shows us another side to it that we might not have seen before. And I think as people, as artists, we're responding to that as well. And I've heard the call. I've heard the call for this work. The work has shown itself. It's revealed a little bit more to me in the last few days. And so I have gone and I have changed a lot throughout the whole work, which means that affects the design team, and then that affects the actors, because I'm constantly cutting and rewriting, and it's forever this moving beast. And so I truly, truly thank you all for your patience. My God, the patience, the generosity. I am forever grateful. Thank you.
It's amazing. To give you some sort of, as a postscript to Isaac's comment, I did see Pip and Yanni, who are the stage management team today, and I said, "How's the show going?" It's in great shape. Last week, and they went, "Oh yeah, that show doesn't exist anymore." I went, "Sorry, what? What do you mean?" And they're like, "That's gone. That's all gone." I'm like, "Oh, copy. Righto. I can't wait to see it." This next incarnation. Now, Delvine, Delvine?
I'm here.
How's it been for you working on costumes and wardrobe with all of those changes coming down? Have you found that your palette has changed, or has the wardrobe kind of stayed the course?
It stayed the course. The characters are, they're real life people that we know of. I feel like it's a really small world. Aboriginal Australia for me is a small world. We know a lot of the people that have written the letters to their sons and spoken about their fathers. Joel Bayliss, who started off the hashtag Indigenous Dads, I know of him from Adelaide. So, you can reflect on who they are and how they dress, and so holding on to that and staying true to who they are has been important.
Okay, I have hogged this microphone long enough, and you have an amazing stage full of legends, speaking the words of legends. Does anyone have any questions out there for any of our cast, any of our creators, about any aspect of the process you'd love to ask? Over here, yes.
Thanks,
Kirk
Kurt.
is coming to you with microphone. Pip is now coming to you with microphone.
Thank you, Pip. So just continuing on the conversation with Delvine, so happy to see you here because I love your work. I've got some of your art at home. I've got one of your shirts and a whole bunch of stuff, so I'm really happy to see you here. So how did you go about translating the work that you do, like in your studio on Stratty, to like dressing like these guys, because that's like from Oscar like dresses to this, quite different.
I worked with this amazing team last year on Dear Brother, so that was a great introduction into this costuming space. And Nat Rayner, who is head of costume here, and alongside Tracy, so they've really assisted me in learning, and I feel like I'm still learning on the job. And so there is this thread of, between fashion, doing uniforms, costuming. It really is your final statement of who your identity is. And so I've kind of worked with that. What am I trying to say? Who am I trying to represent? And so while I'm not printing or planning on making anything, it really is about, developing that identity. And Nat's a great shopper. She's taught me how to do that. So once I worked out, what are people wearing, how to move through. So say for like Kirk's costuming, I think we had about 4 or 5 different slacks until we got to the right one. And even then, getting the right shape, making sure that it's fitting properly and that you're comfortable. And so it really is, how do you feel on stage? Can you move? Because Waniga's got, everyone moving. Is it, so thinking about that part, dropping and rolling. Yeah, so everyone's been teaching and helping me through this.
It's awesome, thank you.
I'm going to come round. Any other questions through here? Questions? Yes, in the white shirt. Question for Waniga?
You have many nations and cultures, represented. How do you bring the language of dance together, and could you show us just sort of even a little bit? No, I'm just
Okay, this audience member is soliciting a free show.
No, look, we're here representing, like I said, many different nations and telling many different stories. So we go to the Torres Strait Islands, and that being in my blood, the salt water's in my blood, giving a sort of broad brushstroke of that style without getting locked into whether it's a central island or northern island or eastern. Because there's a lot of politics that comes with specific movements. So I'm just treating it very, very carefully, and honouring this land here, the Yagara and the Durable as well. And we're just having fun. The idea is to be really having fun and to not to get too into the nitty-gritty of the politics of dance and movement. Yeah, how can we best tell and represent these letters and these men?
And I think what you do, why I love working with you, Waniga, is that you see the sort of landscape on people's bodies. You identify sort of the way that that their ancestors and their great-great-great-great-grandfathers moved, and you're able to sort of link that to the storytelling, and you're able to work with that, not change that. Not try and change that, like you say, a cookie cutter sort of movement style, but something that the actors are able to naturally draw from themselves so that they can bring a little bit of their own stories, a little bit of their own culture to the stage.
Thank you, Isaac. Yeah, I do. I see landscape. I see. I look at Aaron. I see central desert. And it's just really beautiful too. And all these men are fully formed landscapes and country. And how do we bring that all that DNA into the room to tell these stories? It's really exciting. I just love what I get to do. Truly.
And thank you for that choreographic sample before that was quite great. Any other questions? Do I see a hand over here before? No. Any other questions coming around? No. Oh, gosh, we haven't answered it all. Yes, be brave. Ask a question. I know it's intimidating.
Hi. You started with a series of letters, text on the page, it seems a lot of input has come from the actors themselves through their own experience and their own cultures. So what's the proportion? How much of the original text is there? You've added dance and so forth. How's the mix? Perhaps Isaac is one for that.
Yeah, great. Thank you. John Harvey and I, the co-adapter, we made a really conscious choice right from the very beginning that we would stay as true as we could to those letters, to those voices. Most of the text in this work comes from the book. There is some text in there that John and I have written, but mostly it comes from the book. And I think the contribution within the rehearsal room from the actors, from the men, it's been a really interesting one actually, because the form of the letters is really well thought out, crafted writing. Quite deep in terms of its communication. It's not usually the way that we speak as men or as anyone. So finding the truth in these letters through these men and how they vocalize these letters. Sometimes it can sound a little bit fluffy. Sometimes it can sound a little bit weird, but there's been choices that we've made where we need to lean into the letters and into the writing of those letters, because it reminds us, as we're in the dramatic action of the story, that these are actually letters that have been written. And then there's other times in there where we go, this just sounds so unnatural. I'm not sure that I can say this way without feeling really weird and cheesy. And so we've taken liberties directed by the actors, really. My response is to the actors, watching them go, no, that doesn't feel right, and feeling quite awkward and looking quite awkward when they're talking. And so then we've taken the liberty to change the text to make it fit in the mouths of these actors so that it seems more natural.
Brilliant. There's a question over here. Man in red. Microphone is travelling from stage manager in red pants coming towards you. That's Pip. Thank you.
I'm just wondering how many letters and how many actors? Like, are actors playing multiple characters?
Are the actors playing? How does the actual dynamic work of the letters? And are we playing the people who wrote the letters? Or Isaac, do you want to answer that? Was there any of the cast want to answer that? Or
so there's 13 contributors all up, including Thomas Mayo, who's also the editor of the book. So the actors will be playing multiple characters throughout.
Amazing. One question down here.
Right. Go, Pip.
Come on, Pip. Come on down. This is great.
Where am I going?
Here. Sorry. Yes, it's you. It's your moment.
It's good exercise.
He says sitting.
It sounds from what you're saying that with a different collection of actors, this would be a different play.
That's a really great observation, and I 100% agree. With different actors, a different play is what this young man down here said to us. And you're so right. You're so right, because I think us as a creative team as well, we get to sit outside it and observe and sort of, make decisions as we go. And with this new work, the actors bring so much to it that we can't plan for. Like I can have a little bit of a sense of what an actor's going to bring to it, and I should. I'm the director. I've cast it, but sometimes the actors bring something unique and different to it that I think is my responsibility as a director to shape it, to shape the work as well around those storytellers. So, does that answer your question? Yeah, it would have been a completely different show. Because I think because I have a tendency to not just direct actors, I have a tendency to direct energy. So the way that I kind of hear the work rather than see it. I sort of hear the song. I call it like the song and the arc of the work. And when it sort of goes out of tune, I can hear it. And if somebody brought a different voice to this or a different interpretation of that character, then that would be a different note. It would be a different tune in my ear. Yeah. Great, I'll stop there. I could go on.
It's beautiful. We have reached... does anyone have one more? Does anyone have a burning question? It's burning, isn't it? No, I saw that. Respect must be paid. Last question. Final question.
I've heard a couple of you comment about the sort of sense of urgency for this play now. So we're going to bring 150 boys to see, the 10 boys to see this show. So I'm wondering if someone could speak.
Whereabouts? What school?
Brisbane Grammar School, boys' grammar.
Oh, yeah.
So we're wondering if you could speak more about the sort of why this play now and this sort of relationship to toxic masculinity or just the sense of being an adolescent boy right now.
Who wants to take that one? Jimmy. Oh no, Tibbs. Wait, Tibbs is coming. Tibbs is coming through.
I'll say, look, I'm probably the closest to their age.
Okay, be careful. Careful, Tibbs.
Allegedly. Yeah, I think from just me watching it, and I think that it gives us. For me, it gives a lot more appreciation for, our fathers and their role in, because for me, I've caught myself when I'm watching the runs, reflecting to what my father has done for me and my siblings, and I think it's for young men to see this show and then see these stories and these letters, that it's not just an indigenous letters. It's actually the father's letters and of all fathers, and it's like just their duty within raising their children, whether it be sons or daughters. It's a universal thing, and I feel like this story can reach a lot of the younger generations still, and that are coming through, the young men, and to really kind of, I don't know, like see different parts of, like we say, masculinity, the healthy masculinity, and see those parts of it, and really kind of reflect on those, and really take those. I'm doing this, looking up. Yeah. Like it's. Did I answer it? I think I did. Yeah. I'll stop talking.
Yeah. I'll just add quickly, Dan, if that's okay.
Please do, please.
Amazing thing too as well. I've experienced through the whole process is to be vulnerable and open up and talk. There is young boys, or we feel like we got to be warriors. This is no matter what cultural background you are. There is that expectation. Thank you. There is that expectation that when you grow up, it's like, okay, I got to be a man. I got to provide. Blah 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 blah. All of that. But what it does, it actually makes us to close up in parts. My experience in doing this is it allowed myself to and hopefully that's what's going to be presented, or you will feel as audience members, that it's okay as a young fella to open up, because, we all went to school, we've all experienced bullying, all that stuff, but we have an opportunity where you have 300 people sitting to just come and listen. Then no one will have any opinion until when the lights are up, and this is why I love theatre too as well, so that you can have opportunity like that. But yeah, I guess for these young fellas to come in and 45 after I'm 43 now, but still have that feeling of, oh my God, I can be honest to my brother. I can share a tear. I can share a laugh without being judged. Hopefully that will be expressed. And this is coming from an expectation to all men in the world.
Thank you so much.
Oh, Jimmy Barney, brilliant answer, beautiful response. Now, everyone, I was trying to think of a great segue out of that, except to say there isn't one, and that it is now time for the Lucky Door Prize. So please retrieve your tickets. On the winning slate tonight is 2 gourmet hampers filled with chutneys, jams, and barbecue accoutrements, which will make more sense once you've seen the show. Who would like, out of this cast, who has longed to draw a raffle? Anyone? Can I make anyone's dream come true up here? Anyone? Jimmy? Jimmy put his hand up? Okay, Jimmy, here we go. Oh, Kirk first. Kirk.
Oh, you want to? Yep, you got.
And here we go. Kirk.
Never win anything.
Drum roll.
Lucky number 53, A53.
What's the colour?
Orange 53.
Orange. Hey! In the purple, you've won a hamper, but guess what? There's one more. There's one more chance at jams and chutneys.
Yeah.
Jams and chutneys. Who's going to take it? All right, Aaron. Aaron's going to pick it. Aaron's going to pick it. Here we go. Oh, here we go, Trevor. Who's the winner, Trevor? This is high stakes for chutneys.
Orange. A, number 81.
Orange A. Hey! You can collect your chutneys and jams from down below. Before we go tonight, I just wanted to say, can you please put your hands together for this incredible cast and creative team of Dear Sum. To echo Jimmy and to also echo Tibbs here and to say I think it's so admirable that you're bringing 150 young men to see the show. That's brilliant. Because for me, sitting on the outside of it, this is actually about the bravery of having the gumption and the guts to say the unspoken thing and for it to be okay with not being okay. And I hope you've gleaned tonight that this is a deeply moving work told by some absolute legends and icons. I'm in the Tibbs camp. I'm absolutely intimidated by this stage. It is incredible the work they do, and I cannot wait for you to experience the power and the magic of this new work, and it's new, and it's changing day by day, of Dear Son in season. So we cannot wait to see you in the theatre. Thank you so much for coming tonight. Travel home safe, and we'll see you soon.